Yeah, finally. Hey, Aman.
Hey Ed, how
Hear
are
me?
you?
Good morning.
Hey, Martin. Can you hear me too?
Yep. How's my mic? Everything's fine?
Everything's
That's pretty good.
fine. I see you and hear you well. Wow, finally. And um, how do you feel? I'm absolutely happy to have you here because we're gonna set up some tradition today. One of our talks is for the first time ever. uh, we want to have about not technology, not coding features or something. We're gonna talk about future. We're gonna dream. We're gonna set up some vision about the technology, about uh, the future of this domain, of this framework. So um, the stuff I'm gonna ask you is, of course, about the past or some retrospective, uh, and we'll talk about nearest future, and of course, we'll talk about the most interesting stuff, like uh, coding and JavaScript and React itself 5 years from now or 10 years from now. We'll try to imagine what's going to happen with this world and with all of us. It's not that easy, but dreamers move the world. um, but first, I'm absolutely excited, especially you guys here, because Aman is on the one side of the world and Martin on another side of the world, like on opposite ones. So we have, like, the balanced vision, and I'm super happy to do that with you guys. So yeah, first question. If you don't have something special to say before we start, is what do you think was really important change for the maybe one last year or maybe a little more in React? Who would like to start? And let's show begins.
I'll let Martin talk about it.
Okay. So I'm a consumer of React. So that's an important difference in perspective. Uh, as a consumer, the most important thing in the past 1 year with regards to the library, well, so asynchronous rendering is going to be the one thing that I'm waiting the most, and it looks like we're getting closer, right? So when we had to pick, and when we did POCs many years ago about in which direction we are going to go, information about synchronous rendering, eventual asynchronous rendering in the future of the library was one of the things that were actually key points. This is one of the main reasons why we took it. So seeing that in the past 1 year we are getting closer and closer with the guys at Facebook making more and more steps in that direction with the hooks, with the context API, and so on. These are like some more imperative concepts are getting their way into the library. The purists, people who like functional programming, maybe not very happy with them, but these are like these are needed, especially when you're authoring code that needs to work synchronize runtime, to find another component runtime, to be able to inject stuff, to be able to run properly, and so on. This is how you'll be able to actually decouple into different files, different components, like self-contained components. I'm not talking about build time. So maybe the most important change, context API, hooks, and getting closer to asynchronous rendering with things like suspense, lazy, and so on.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. And Aman, what do you think?
The future of React. That's That's a tough question, and I don't think anybody knows the answer except probably the React team at Facebook. So um, honestly, yeah, I'm not sure. I think Martin's been using React a lot more than I have lately. So yeah, I don't have really good answers at the moment about this particular question.
I see. Okay, but what I see from my communications with React developers is that this framework becomes more and more mature, more and more uh, useful for doing the really great stuff and yeah, more and more mature. That's what I want to say. Yeah, and let's imagine we talk today in 2021, and what do you think would be great to see happen in React for the last year from now? I mean, we talk about future 1 year or something. I mean, nearest future of React. What would you like, Aman, to have? Yeah.
What would I like in like a year in React? I think the async rendering is a big one. I'm pretty happy with Relay and Redux as data stores. Those are pretty good. If there were like perhaps like better tooling to measure performance of different components and diagnostics to figure out how different things can be optimized or what the different bottlenecks are, I think something like that would be really useful for React.
Okay, thanks. And Martin?
Well, here I'm with the man because profiling React applications is quite the challenge. Yeah, you can do it in developer tools. Yeah, and what you're seeing there, you're seeing a lot of library code. And even if you're using like a dev bundle and whatever, it's just a bunch of functions that you don't know what they do, that you don't know why they take time. So this, the performance thing, the synchronous rendering, these are very good points, and I'm one of the people who hope that we will get something on them. But there's also something else that I would need. In my view, automation is very important for any business, especially for any big business. And improving the testing experience of React is also going to be very, very helpful in in terms of adoption. Yeah, we have Jest, we have Enzyme, and it's okay, but it's not where it should be. It's not on par with other frameworks like Angular.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, thank you very much. And I always like when programmers or engineers start to think about the business, think about the final consumers on or final functions of what we guys do here. So let's talk about the community. So community is is the driver of all changes. What do you think about the community and about how the community changed in the last period? I'm not sure what you think about the changes have been made or happened, or what do you think about the change what are upcoming in the community? Aman, could you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this is like a really interesting question for both Aman, for myself and Martin to answer, because we're probably going to have different answers. I've written most of my React code inside Facebook, and a lot of the community that we have access to is like the Facebook engineers inside, and even like the UI components and libraries on top of React that we use are inbuilt, custom made for Facebook. So for us, most of the times when you want to use something new library or have questions about certain like add-on that we've added on top of React code, we can't use Stack Overflow. We have to like go to the internal Stack Overflow inside Facebook and access that. So, which is obviously pretty good because like Facebook is like one of the top contributors to React. But I think Martin's probably going to have a different answer because, well, I'm guessing that he uses a lot of the external like open source React libraries and UIs and all that stuff. So he's probably able to access the actual external community more than I do.
Thank you, Aman.
So I would have a different answer, yeah, but not so much. So React as a library is our framework or whatever we would like to call it. It's quite an interesting project, and Stack Overflow cannot help you with it. Even its documentation cannot help you with it. So at times I found myself reading the source code to understand how to optimize something, which is, I think this is one area where the library is lacking. And there are many people who are like theorizing in the community. They're theorizing how this is working behind the scenes. But the reality is that until you open the source code, you debug it or you read it, you will never know how it works. So what I observe is that people very rarely do that. They very rarely open the source code and try to understand how it works behind the scenes. So most of the advice that you find on the internet is kind of useless. They tested it, it worked with the to-do list, and that's fine, I guess. But when you're trying to make a living by using this framework, you should be very careful. Also, in that regard, something that I'm doing is I have a very, very strict way of introducing libraries. So with React, we're using Mobix, and that's it. We are not adding any other library in that case. And why we're using Mobix? Because Mobix does not scream React, React, React. Mobix has an adapter for React, right? So essentially, all my state management, it's external to React. I'm injecting it into React. So it's kind of a different approach. For me, as a client, I need to have like a certain level of independence from the library. So I'll be able to change it eventually. Not that I want to change it, but anything can happen in 5 years.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. If we talk about the actually, that's why we do this Geekle, because when we've been starting this project, I had a huge doubt. Does anybody need more content on internet? Because people say everything is on YouTube, right? And yeah, and I was absolutely surprised that lots of everything on YouTube, but like lack of useful stuff. Let's talk about generations. Let's talk about those 95% of our community in Geekle who are on junior track. Not only because it's free, but we do it for free for guys, because most of them or some of them are facing problems with making their bread on the table. I don't think it's really a great idea to charge a lot of money for these for this knowledge, but most of them are juniors. So what is the best path for juniors, you think, today to obtain the most useful and the best way, useful knowledge and the best way to grow? What do you think, Aman?
I think this is like a good question, not specific to React, but specific to like anything that you want to do in programming. And obviously I'm no expert, but I'm going to talk about like what's worked for me in the past.
Sure.
And I think what's worked for me is the best way to learn is by doing, making mistakes, and always being curious. As Martin said, if you're curious, something's not working, like look inside the source code, look inside the library, try to understand the code. If you don't understand it, then post the question, something very specific somewhere, or just like read as much as possible and like do stuff. I think that's usually the best way to learn. And obviously you can like find mentors, you can like find communities. I think those things are extremely important, but I think that happens automatically if you have that curious spirit inside you to like always like learn, know more, have good questions. I think automatically you get attracted to the right people and build that community of like friends and mentors to help you learn more.
Yeah, and Martin, maybe you have some ideas about, the best path for juniors.
Well, there's no best path because all people are different. So for everybody, something slightly different is going to work. But a good way to start is find an internship or just start working in a place that will help you grow. Like, we know that you don't know, right? Okay, apply for the job, try your best, show us your best side. In the past, we had some in the previous company, at least in SBTech, we did something. If we got a very nice guy, very nice attitude, perspective, a lot of knowledge, even not very like deep, but a lot of it. We've even opened junior positions, even if we didn't have one, just to give a chance to future engineer. So companies want to develop you, so apply for the jobs. Don't wait for the right job, right? There is no such thing as the right job. There is no such thing as right now. Right now is now. Yeah, actually, it's yesterday, but the next slot is now.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant advice. Yeah, I'm trying all my life to do the best I can right now for people who I have with me right now. Yeah. Martin and Daman too, but I guess Martin would be the best commentary. When you see few juniors, how do you choose who you would pay more attention, give him more of your time, or who should this junior be, and or what skills or what soft skills you are looking for? I mean, you as a senior, you as a experienced developer and engineer in juniors.
So it's very hard to notice a junior. Let's start by that. So this it's the way things work, right? So I'm an architect, so I work mostly with senior developers. Mm-hmm. So if a junior wants to be noticed, they should ask questions, and they should come ask me questions. Like, if you think about it, think about an open space, right? You're walking by, and you have a job to do, right? So I'm going to go to the team lead or to the senior developer or with whom I have currently something to do. And I'm not just going to randomly pick people and ask them, what's your qualification? Are you a junior? Should I talk to you? What do you know? You're not doing that. Like, if you want to know something, think about it. There is a lot of documentation in companies. So you can always read something, go ask the architect stuff, ask the seniors guy stuff. Try to get noticed, right? And also a good way to be noticed is to do good pull requests, to write good code. So this is also a way to be noticed. And how do you distinguish between juniors? Well, they need to talk to you, and you need to talk to them, obviously. But as I said, it's in the environment there are much more juniors than seniors, so it's we're not equal in terms of numbers. So it's very hard for one senior figure to go and to check every single junior if it's not in their team, if they're not like, I'm not directly managing them, right? So if I have to notice them, they will have to do some work. They will have to send pull requests. Like, think about it. You can assign me a pull request. You can ask me to review your code. That's a very, very nice way to start. I will know who you are. I will see what you're doing. I will comment. I will help you grow. So this is one way to get noticed without much soft skills involved, actually. If you think about it, a pull request is some commit in Git, probably some Jira ticket, and I will open, I will review. If I have questions, I will actually contact you to see what's going on. So this is quite a nice way to start the conversation.
So if you wanna, be noticed or need more attention, and not wait for questions, make questions come to you. Yeah, and Aman, what do you think about how do you pick juniors or beginners to pay your attention here to them?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about like my experience. So I've been working in like big companies. At Facebook, it's really interesting where internally we don't know anybody else's level. So somebody could be like really experienced, but on their profile it'll still say software engineer. And somebody could be like just a new hire, it'll still say software engineer. And that's actually done on purpose at Facebook because it has a very Facebook, the company has this mentality of ultimately we're not judging anything based off of your past achievements. It's purely based off of your code. So they want the code to be front and foremost and everything else to be secondary. So if you are the best engineer in the world, but you write some bad code, people should be okay to like comment on your code saying this is not the right code. Also vice versa, where you could be like super junior, but if you're writing good code, then people should be able to like appreciate that code without saying that you're too junior. So which is why people they have the lack of levels. So in this scenario, I think it's like fair game. So if you work hard, you'll get noticed, and nobody's going to consider you as like junior or senior. That's one answer. But to answer your question more directly, I think the way it's done at Facebook is that if you want to grow, so every 6 months, there's a performance review where your managers review your performance. And obviously that thing includes a bunch of things. It includes the impact that you had. It includes like how complex of code you wrote, but it also includes the people dimension, which is if you're senior especially, they look at, did you help people around you grow? So usually in a team, there's like one like super senior person, and then maybe 2 or 3 senior engineers, and then the rest are junior engineers. Especially if you're senior or super senior, it's your job to like make sure that you grow the people around you to get promoted and get to the next level. So that's sort of how it works. And then usually the manager is responsible to make sure that's happening. So the manager will ask their most senior engineer to make sure, pair them up with like somebody on the team who's like more junior, and help both of them help the senior person grow the junior person.
Well, thanks for sharing this experience. It sounds really reasonable. Yeah. So let's get back to the technology. Let's try to dream about it. Let's try to think what is in the future, what is coming up to us. Yeah. Could you take a look or try to see what's going on in 5 years or maybe 10 years? What do you think where the library moves, where we are going to? What do you think, Aman?
I think 5-10 years, there has to be better and easier ways to build UIs, I would say. I think obviously like functional programming and React is like a huge step forward from the predecessors, where we were like, shooting events and doing like really low level stuff, which is obviously a step up from like jQuery, which is obviously a step up from like raw JavaScript. But I think like even now, building UI is really like low level work. It's like if you take an analogy, it's very similar to if you're building a house, you're putting one brick at a time. That's sort of the level of granularity at which you're working when you're doing UI work. So I would expect like in 5 to 10 years, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to like predict exactly number of years, because I think there's a saying that humans like underestimate the amount of work that will be done on a long time horizon, but overestimate the amount of work that will be done on a short time horizon. So it's like hard to predict. But I think in 5 to 10 years, there has to be like more higher level abstract ways of just like specifying the UI that you want and the behavior of that UI, and then things should happen automatically. Perhaps using AI, perhaps using machine learning, combining that with the existing functional programming tools to like build something which makes it a lot easier to write UI.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's absolutely, understandable and a pure idea, because we cannot, see clearly what's going on. Yeah, because I hear really often the idea that, come on, guys, think about before you're going to get to engineering field, because all this AI, the machines will write code soon. You will lose your job. So but the part of truth is the coding has changed. Yeah, Martin, could you share about this question? What do you think about the future? I mean, the far future.
Mm-hmm. So the far future is blurry. it's in shadows and in fog. So, but I think that artificial intelligence is kind of overestimated right now. But something that it's a shady area. Nobody can tell, right? Well, maybe tomorrow there will be a breakthrough and we will all be jobless, which will be fine. But I'm kind of skeptical about that.
Yeah.
But something that is clearly visible is that the web browser is actually opening to other languages, which is a very, very important thing. Talking about WebAssembly here. So this is allowing much different way of thinking when you're structuring an application. Can you think just for a second? Think about compiling Swift code to WASM and running it in the browser, and now suddenly my isomorphic application has completely different meaning, right? My iOS code is running inside of the web browser. So what happened now? That's completely different field. Something completely different is happening now. And this is opening the door to quite the interesting Frankenstein type of solutions. So when you're running Go, C++, .NET, and something else with JavaScript on top, of course. But this is going to open the door for more interesting software to come to the browser. I'm not talking about like browser is the client just displaying the stuff and going back and forward to a server through a socket. And I'm talking about actually shipping the executable code to the browser and actually doing the job on the client machine, which is going to save a lot of network traffic eventually. But different use cases go for different solutions. I'm really excited about the possibilities behind WASM.
Yeah, I absolutely love your attitude. That you are not kind of religious fanatic of React or some specific technology, and it's great. Yeah, Aman, maybe you can add something to this question.
I think in the future, like programming, if you see over time, 20, 30 years ago, did we lose Ed?
I think we lost Ed, but you may continue speaking.
Ed is back. We lost you for a second, Ed. What I was saying was, if you look at the evolution of like programming, 30 years ago, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the computers were invented about 40 years ago. Initially, there was like very, very few programmers. And if you look at like sort of like map that over time, the number of programmers has like increased a lot. Now there's like a lot more programmers, but there's still a huge shortage of programmers. And if you like sort of like extend that, curve more over time, I think what's going to happen is in 10, 15 years down the line, I think a lot more people will be writing code. So I feel like most people will be writing code. Coding will become something like writing. Like everybody writes. Like you write English, you write different languages, and that's just a way that you use to communicate with other people, other humans. So programming is like essentially same as writing, but it's like you're writing to a computer. But now that your software is eating the world, it's becoming like so pervasive. It's going to become more and more important that humans are able to like talk to customers. And then on top of that, with the new abstractions that are being added, I think it'll just become a lot simpler for most people to be able to talk to to computers. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's just going to become like writing.
Cool, Mark.
That's a very nice point that you're making, but it also this points me to the way our industry is fragmented. If you think about it, why we have shortage of programs? Well, we don't technically have shortage of programmers. We have shortage of Java programmers here, .NET programmers there, Node.js programmers here, Python programmers over there, and so on. So, what you said about the natural language, it's something that I really like. Abstraction and natural languages are going hand in hand. The reason why we understand each other is because we agreed what the words mean. This is the highest level, that's the highest possible level of abstraction. I say a car and you immediately know what is a car. You don't know what are the properties of the car, but you know it probably has 4 wheels, couple of doors, engine, and you put stuff in it. So programming going in that direction means consolidation of the languages. It means the language. Not JavaScript, not C#, not whatever, Sharp, F#, not Java, not Scala. It means the language. So in order for us to actually move in that direction, it means that we need to have something like a universal language, which is quite a nice idea. I like it. It means that your mental models, you'll be able to apply them across different fields. That would be interesting because, in English, we can discuss science, we can discuss medicine, we can discuss technology, or we can just talk about the weather. So that's quite an interesting viewpoint, man. I would be happy to live in that future.
Yeah. So consolidation of languages to the language, and become, famous, like writing for every human. Having skills on this language, right? So that's what we determined. Yeah, Aman, you wanted to add something?
I don't want to add that much. I like what Martin said. I think he was like definitely building off of what I said. You're right that if what I was saying is supposed to happen, then there would also be a requirement of consolidation of language, which is not really happening. If you like plot the number of languages over time, it's like only increasing. And I don't know the rate of increase, but it's probably like increasing quite fast. So I think those two things are in opposition of each other, and one of those must give for whatever I was saying to be true.
Well, everybody's writing JavaScript. Think about it.
Yeah. So you believe that JavaScript is the the hub, right?
Obviously, that was a joke, but it's kind of interesting. So everybody is writing their language, like the main language, whatever, Scala, and a bit of JavaScript on the side. So everybody's writing JavaScript. It's a possible future. Why not?
Yeah. Okay, why not? But what do you think need to be removed to do this process like more smoothly or faster?
To be removed from where?
I mean the consolidation.
No,
from,
I don't
from,
think
from community. I mean from the from mentality.
So I'm not sure if I understand the question. Aman, maybe
Yeah, I can.
let's take it.
Yeah, I can take that question. I think what Ed is trying to ask is like, obviously, it sounds like we think that there's a need for like consolidation of languages. What can be done, or like, what are some things that must be true for that consolidation to happen faster?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know the answer, but I'm just like brainstorming along with you. I think to answer that question, we'd have to figure out why languages are increasing in the first place. Like, why is there a deconsolidation happening in the first place? Um, I think that's happening because programming is still pretty nascent. Nobody's figured out the right constructs to use or the right sort of frameworks or just like the right sort of like literals in a language, which is why humans decide to use different set of constructs and literals in different use cases. Like, so when building UI, they use different constructs. When they're writing backend code, they're using different constructs just because it hasn't matured to a level where they have a complete understanding of how things should work. So I think it's like one of those like natural cycles where you can't really do much to like make it faster. It's just like things will like take their own shape where initially they will diverge, people will try different things, and then they will start seeing patterns of like, oh, these things can be consolidated into like this one thing in this way. And it's sort of already happening, right? You know, like React Native is an example of something that you write code once and then sort of like you can run it on both iOS and Android. So that's sort of an example of a consolidation happening, obviously in a different way. But yeah, I don't think anything can be done to like make it faster, but it's just like a natural cycle that will happen once as like humans try to understand programming and constructs better.
Yeah, sorry for being not that clear, but yeah, that's what I meant.
So if we take natural language as example, natural language has evolved for how much? Couple of thousand years. And the thing is that we were looking at the same thing, like every country, every tribe, every city, they had their own variation of the language. But eventually, language groups became apparent and people started sharing languages. And now we are from 3 different countries discussing in the same language. And like everybody knows English, you know, it's kind of the thing. Uh, English and some other language. And it's being a slow and painful process where in the beginning, I remember the times in the 90s in Bulgaria. So there were no books in Bulgarian. So how do I learn programming? What do I do? The internet is in English, programming is in English, textbooks are in English. So that's it. You either learn English or you cannot learn to program. And also you need to start thinking in English. Why? Because all the keywords in the language are English and they have meaning and you need to understand it. So yeah, slow, painful process. It will probably take similar amount of time to happen.
Yeah, but the future will come anyway. So yeah, we'll probably face it. Well, thank you very much. This is our first try to set up this process of talking about the future here at Geekle, a future of technology, and now we talk about React. Thank you very much. Maybe you have something to add to this conversation or something. Maybe you have more ideas. If none, I see people here are going to start the next step. Do you?
Yeah, I can just like add a few words to like, you know, cap things off from my side. I would like to like give like a round of applause to like the Geekle team and like a huge thank you for like having me and organizing this amazing event. I think I met Ed like a week ago, and we spoke. He told me about his story of like how he quickly pivoted from running like in person like small group meetups to this like global conference like right after the pandemic happened. Um, I think that was like absolutely amazing. It's super cool to like dream that big of like running like a 24-hour like consecutive continuous conference. and I think it was done in a very, very like cool and sophisticated way. So I had a great time, talking and also like meeting a lot of the people in this conference. Yeah, so just like thanks a lot and a huge round of applause to Ed and the rest of the team.
Thank you very much. Thank for being with us. That's awesome. We hope on our future React events we'll have more people from Facebook. It was really hard to find you. To talk, from the first phase, Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So on my side, I want to join Aman with what he said. So that's feat that you've achieved. 24 hours. I've joined in a couple of sessions, meaning that I got similar amount of sleep as you guys, which is cool. It's it reminds me of hackathons that we used to do when I was a bit younger. So it's 24 hours of technology, very cool. Yeah. I also want to say that I really enjoyed this discussion with Aman. So I think there is more need for such discussions, so such open discussions where like brainstorming, random ideas. It's a cool thing to have. Maybe that's the best part of the panels. So this is the thing that I like the most. So great job, guys. Thank you for having me. Good luck with your next event.
Thank you very much. It's not about us. It's about community. The community made us to do this stuff. We just, was just opened our minds and trying to, do our best. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying you guys. Thank you for doing this for community. I was sleeping this night on chairs here to wait for this panel, and that's why I'm doing it myself. I want to know. I want to feel this feeling. What is in future, because this is what the drives me the most. Thank you very much, and I appreciate to invite my colleague here to go to the next speaker. He will speak much more technical stuff here. So we will probably have some small break, right, to switch the gadgets or something.
The speaker is already waiting for.
Yeah, the speaker is waiting. So let's let him do his job. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Yeah, thank you for.
Bye, Martin. Thank you. Bye, Ed.
Bye, bye.